The morning sun rose over Crestwood Heights, a peaceful suburban community where every mailbox gleamed and every lawn looked like it came straight out of a landscaping magazine. But behind those white fences and neatly painted doors hid a storm. One named Karen Whitmore, the self-proclaimed queen of the HOA. For months, Karen had been at war with anyone who didn't fit her perfect picture of the neighborhood. From mailbox height to lawn color, she had a rule, and she enforced it like a dictator guarding a palace. Most people avoided her. Some moved away. But when she turned her attention to my property, she made the biggest mistake of her life. It started on a Wednesday morning. I had just returned from a month-long trip to Washington, D.C., and found 3 letters taped to my door in bright red ink. Violation, Secret 1142, unauthorized construction on HOA land. Violation, Secret 1143, fence color not approved. Final warning, you have 7 days before legal action. I blinked, half in disbelief, half in amusement. I hadn't built anything new. My fence was the same white oak it had been for 10 years. And HOA land? There was no such thing. My property line was older than the HOA itself. But Karen didn't care about facts. She cared about control. That afternoon, I caught her standing on my driveway, clipboard in hand, sunglasses on like she owned the place. "Mr. Hale," she said, tapping her pen, "your property line extends 12 inches into HOA territory. You'll need to remove your fence or face penalties." "Penalties?" I asked calmly. "For existing before your HOA even formed." Her lips curled into that smug, familiar grin. "Rules are rules, and I make sure everyone follows them," I smiled back. "You should read your own charter more carefully." That smile faded instantly. "Excuse me?" "You'll understand soon," I said, turning toward my house. "Have a good day, Mrs. Whitmore." But Karen never left things alone. The next morning, construction cones appeared near my mailbox. Then, a notice of the boundary adjustment was staked into my yard. By noon, she had called a local surveyor and filed paperwork claiming part of my driveway as HOA communal property. Neighbors whispered as her white Lexus rolled past every afternoon. I heard her bragging one day to her friend over the fence. "He'll fold. They always do. No one wins against the HOA." That's when I decided it was time. For months, I had kept my role quiet. I enjoyed being just another quiet neighbor, mowing my lawn, waving hello, living peacefully. But I wasn't just Mr. Hale homeowner. I was Judge Jonathan Hale, the federal district judge who had signed the original charter that created the Crestwood HOA, the same document that defined their legal boundaries. And that document made one thing very clear. My land was exempt from all HOA authority. 3 days later, Karen pushed her luck further. I came home to find orange stickers on my door declaring my house in violation of community code. She even had the nerve to call the sheriff's office, claiming I was encroaching on HOA property. When the 2 officers arrived, I greeted them politely and invited them in for coffee. Karen stood on the sidewalk, arms crossed, waiting to see me humiliated. The younger officer cleared his throat. "Sir, Mrs. Whitmore here has filed a complaint." "About my property line, yes," I interrupted, handing him a sealed folder. "Please take a look at this." He opened it. Inside were copies of federal documents, legal maps, and the HOA charter itself, signed, sealed, and dated 7 years before Karen even bought her house. The older officer's eyebrows rose. "Judge Hale?" Karen froze. "What?" The officer nodded. "Ma'am, you may want to read this. His property isn't under your HOA's jurisdiction." Her voice shook. He's lying. Nobody's above the HOA." The officer sighed. "Actually, ma'am, in this case, he literally is." Her face drained of color. I stepped closer, calm but firm. "Karen, you've trespassed, vandalized, and submitted false legal documents. I could have you charged with harassment, defamation, and property interference. But I'm not going to do that." "Not yet," she stammered. "You can't do that." "Oh, I can," I replied, my tone steady. "And I can also recommend a federal review of your HOA's leadership structure." That's when she broke. All that smug superiority melted into panic. Judge Hale, I didn't know. I was just following procedure. Your procedure, I said, has been abusing this neighborhood for years. It ends today. 2 weeks later, the entire HOA board was called into a special meeting. Karen arrived in a beige blazer, trying to look composed. I attended in my formal capacity, sitting at the head of the table, not as a neighbor, but as the presiding federal judge overseeing HOA compliance. When the gavel struck, silence filled the room. Mrs. Whitmore, I said, you've used your authority to harass residents, falsify reports, and misuse HOA funds. You are hereby removed from your position effective immediately. Her mouth trembled. You can't. I just did. The room erupted in whispers. Karen stormed out, heels clicking furiously against the marble floor. Outside, she paused to glare at me one last time. You humiliated me, she hissed. No, I said softly. You did that to yourself. After she left, the neighborhood changed overnight. The endless notices stopped. The laughter returned. Kids played on sidewalks again. One evening, as the sun set behind the rooftops, a neighbor named Mrs. Carter brought me a pie. Judge Hale, she said, smiling, you saved this place. I smiled back. No, Mrs. Carter, you all did. I just reminded her who really owns the law here, and from that day on, Crestwood Heights was peaceful again, at least, until the next Karen moved in. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more real-life revenge tales, where justice always finds its way home.